Hi, how are you tonight? I am a few minutes late. I am super aware. I'm Dr. Melissa Mann, if you don't know me. And I got myself a light, so it's something I'm going to get used to, and you might see the reflection behind me in the window if you're wondering what that weird circle is, but I'm excited about that. If you're following me today on this page, you saw the ridiculousness that was my day. I was supposed to have a 6:30 flight. I left at 11:15. So I spent most of the day in the Austin airport. It was good fun. So the truth is I got a lot done and it was fine. It just would have been better if I hadn't woken up at 3 because I've now been up since 3. So I apologize for whatever version of me that means you're getting tonight, but it's okay. I'm here and I said I would be. And the truth is I probably have a lot to share. I just don't know how much I'll be able to articulate all of the things after being on no sleep, but I will try my best. So I hope you all had a good week, and thank you all for everybody who kind of said what they like to do in the airport, and it was just kind of fun to play with while I was sitting there this morning. So that was really cool. I really enjoy talking with all of you. So somebody had asked me last week, I think it was last week, I don't know, my time is all screwy, right? So somebody had asked me to talk about shame. And I was kind of figuring out how I wanted to weave that into other things. And the truth is the last few days, actually, oh great, I have low battery. I think we'll make it. I think we'll hold for, hopefully for 15 minutes or so. But yeah, traveling all day, phone hasn't been charged. So somebody asked me about shame. And the last few days have been an interesting test, I would say, for me, of interesting point of view and guilt and anger and all the things. And, nobody has a perfect family, I'm sure. Maybe if you do, then you're, one in a million, which is awesome. But, going to see family always brings up things for most people. That's a real thing. And I know I've kind of thrown in little snippets here and there, but my mom has pretty severe Alzheimer's at this point. And she also had a surgery a few weeks ago, and she was staying in a nursing home. She is supposed to be, or I guess she is back home now since I left today. But it's, it brings up all sorts of things because it creates this stressful situation, and you kind of see everybody's true colors come out and everybody's fears and insecurities and all sorts of these, what we call distractor implants. And there's a whole lot of them, but shame is one of them. Guilt is one of them. Anger is one of them. And if you want more on that, reading Living Without Distraction, I actually haven't even opened the book yet, but I understand that it talks all about all of the distractor implants that we sort of have and get stuck on. But it was interesting for me in this last few days because I went really to be there for my mom and my dad. He's been struggling, of course, to take care of her. And also, there's all sorts of sort of typical family stuff, right? I mean, without getting into all of it, where people fight and people yell at each other, and there's a lot of trauma and drama that kind of goes on and happens. And I used to get a number of things from it, actually. I used to get pulled into it. I used to get angry, and I used to get really anxious being around those energies of kind of anger and people who were unpredictable or, kind of quick to fly off the handle and things like that. And this was probably the first time, maybe ever. I mean, I realized the last time I was there was definitely better, but the last couple days was just different, where I was really able to just let it all be interesting point of view and all just sort of flow through me rather than knock me over, be too much, feel like I had to resist and react to it or get mad or have kind of anything other than interesting point of view. I mean, it was, you want to really, I know I talk a lot about interesting point of view, but gosh, if you want an exercise in that, go hang out with your family for the day. And I mean, your family of origin, where all the, stuff and everybody has an opinion and all those sorts of things. But I had this opportunity to do it, and it was really interesting for me to see sort of the typical patterns that have always been there, but to now feel like instead of where I used to contract and go small and try to like not be seen, instead to just expand. And not that I needed to be a presence, because I didn't, and I wasn't, I don't think, but it just moved through me now. And that was a really different experience for me. And I don't know that I felt anxiety, anxious, tensity, all the things, all the contractions that come up with that type of environment. I don't think I felt that once. I was aware of when I would have felt that in the past, and that was a really interesting awareness to be like, oh, like, wow, I know how I might have felt about this before, and now I can just let it all be what it is. So I tell you that because I thought it was a really good example, and it's kind of segue into talking about guilt and shame and doubt and anger and all these things that sort of distract us from really being who we truly are, and how do we work around that. So I guess I'm looking at my notes. I wrote this out on the plane, and granted it was, after a long wait. So I'm sort of wanting to remember all the things that I was thinking when I was thinking about that. But, I guess there's a couple tools here that are maybe the first is, of course, interesting point of view to everything that's coming up in your mind, everything that comes up around whatever emotion you are, I hesitate to say feeling. And let's talk about that, I guess. So when we talk about guilt or shame, I was thinking about this on the plane today. What are the things that really bring that up? And usually it's somebody trying to do guilt, which is really somebody trying to do control. So people use guilt to try to do control. So you're bad because you didn't do this. You're not here. You're leaving me. You're not around. You're not doing enough. And those are all guilt things, right? And people do that to get control. That is period what guilt is. When somebody's guilting you, that is a control thing, 1000%. And as soon as you realize that, you can start to really see what that is, and not allow it anymore. You just, it's the wrong word. I want to step back from that. I guess you want to allow it. You don't want to resist and react to it, or do anything with it other than allow it, I guess, is what I really want to say, is to just allow it to just move through you and to not stick you. Because that's when we get really stuck, is when somebody says, you're not doing this, you're not enough, you're not showing up where you need to show up. And then we go into, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm not, they're right, and I now feel guilty. Does that make sense? And shame is sort of one more than that. It's sort of this, like, I think that I'm bad. So it's not so much what I did was bad or I'm not doing enough, but it's like an I'm bad thing. And I guess the first thing I want to say on that is it's not yours. That's all the stuff you're picking up. I don't know how much I've talked on here. I forget what I say to who, when, about who does this belong to? And this is an access consciousness tool, much like interesting point of view. But we are so aware, and we perceive so much more than we realize that we're perceiving from other people. And so 99% of every thought, feeling, emotion, anything that's coming to you that you're buying as yours isn't. So when you feel an emotion like shame or guilt, first thing, go, who does this belong to? Is it mine? And pick up the awareness of that. Is it yours? Or is it someone else's? And then you can return to sender with consciousness attached. And all that means is that you're putting that back, and consciousness allows for everything and judges nothing. That's what consciousness is. So when you're sending it back with consciousness, you're not sending it back to somebody, well, look, you can have your own shit. No, you're sending it back in a way that they can then not judge themselves, but do something with it in a way that allows for it and doesn't judge it anymore, so that they can do something to change it if they choose. Does that make sense? And sometimes you might be aware, like, oh, this isn't mine, this is my mom's, or oh, this isn't mine, this is my friend's. And sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's oh, this isn't mine, it's somebody down the street. We just have an amazing awareness that most of us don't recognize. So I was thinking about shame and the things that have made people feel shameful, and it's usually because they think they did something really bad. something outside of their moral code or something outside of their integrity, or there's somebody else or some other belief system in their world that is telling them that what they are doing, have done, thoughts that they're having are bad somehow. And then we go into shame. And that's the perfect opportunity to go, who does this belong to? Is this even mine, or is this some organization who says this about me? Is this somebody in my family's point of view about me? In which case, I just interesting point of view. Or do I really believe that? And if I do believe it, if there's something that is true, I did this thing that's wrong, and I feel this shameful about it, okay, then recognize, what is it? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how can I change it? Maybe you need to apologize. Maybe you need to make things right. But then you need to let it go. Because we are not perfect. And we don't have to be perfect. And we all have done dumb things, or things we think were dumb, but so what? You learn from it and you choose again. You know, I mean, gosh, if I went through my life and marked off all the things that I did that were not right, not okay, not selfish, judgmental of other people, I'm sure I could come up with a hell of a list. I don't know what the value in that would be, though. But instead you choose again. And for every time you feel like you've made the wrong choice, it's an opportunity to choose again. It's an opportunity to do something different. And all the thoughts and feelings that are coming to you, just interesting point of view, that I have that point of view, if it's coming from you. Yeah. And then let it go. And then breathe that out and know that you don't have to live in that state, and you actually get to choose the state that you live in. And you get to choose the way you want to live your life and the energy that you'd like your life to be. And sometimes we have to really cognitively choose that and realize that we're choosing it. That when we're living in a space of doom and gloom and trauma and drama, that's something that we're choosing. And I really got this opportunity to see this over the last few days. I love my family. I'm not coming on here to say bad things about them, but there's a lot of trauma and drama, and that just is. So, but that was different because I could have gone into my story of, this is how it's always been, this is how they are, I get so anxious when I'm around them, I can't be near them, I can't handle the fighting or the anger or the drama, and woe is me, and this is why I am the way I am, and this is my life, and this is how it's always, right, I can go into the whole story, but I didn't. Maybe for the first time, I don't know. I think the first time wholly, where I could like really recognize even that I was doing that in the moment and be like, oh, this is all very interesting, isn't it? And I never lost that expanded space, which really has come from the tools of access consciousness. And a lot of the tools that I teach people, that I work with people on when we do coaching. And I talk about this stuff, guys, because it works. And because it's worked for me in such a way that I don't talk, I've talked here about my history of anxiety and all those things, but like I don't talk a lot about like family of origin stuff, and we all got that kind of like stuff, right? But this was an opportunity to like really see it, and so I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to read something from Pragmatic Psychology, and I know I was reading this on the plane, and I know I talked a little bit about it, I think last week. There's some gems in this book, so that's this. But she talks a little bit about shame and distractor implants, and I won't go real long here, but she says, so instead of having the target of handling anger, hate, fury, guilt, or shame in your life or in therapy, a more effective approach is being an allowance of what is and discovering what these implants are distracting us from. How can this be done? The ultimate invitation for others to be more of themselves is for us to be more of ourselves. Be you and change the world. The distractor implants are designed to control, impel a point of view, and limit the possibility to choose. Anger and guilt are perfect ways to control others and to be controlled by others. When somebody blames someone for something without asking a question, usually both people function from autopilot. They feel bad and there's no way out. When something like that shows up in your life, know that what you have in front of you is a lie, a distraction from what is truly possible, from the potency and power and the being you truly be. Letting go of all the distraction implants allows you to have ease and infinite choice. Without anger, guilt, and shame, how are others able to control you? If we would be who we truly are, wouldn't this reality have to change from what it is now? Ask yourself, what power and potency am I not willing to be and receive that I am hiding behind anger? What am I not willing to be that I am hiding underneath the guilt and shame? That is, there's an energy of that. I love that. What are we hiding from? And how is it that we are allowing guilt, shame, anger, all the things to distract us from who we really are, who we really can be, and the power and the potency that we have in the world? And what could we accomplish if we could move beyond all of those things and let them move through us and just let that energy flow through? Just like the wind blows through branches of a tree, it just flows, and it doesn't have to stick us, and we don't have to buy it as real. And when those thoughts come up, and if they're intrusive thoughts and they kind of keep nagging at you, just interesting point of view, I have that point of view, look back at it. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view, look back at it until it drops. And really remember, is this even mine? Or is this something that has been implanted? That's why they're calling them distractor implants. Because they've been implanted from other people, from beliefs, from your environment, from your religion, from your parents, from your siblings, from your friends, that have been implanted into you through your lifetime, that you've bought as true and part of your belief system or part of your story. And they don't have to be. What if you could have a different reality? And what if your reality could be so much greater than you've ever imagined once you really let go of all this stuff? Yeah. I don't know, guys. I'm like, do I have anything else? I don't think so. I wrote a bunch of notes because I was kind of writing down all my experience stuff too. No, I really don't think I have anything else. I think the only other thing I was going to say is, when I talk, and you too, about being space, about allowance, about coming out of the thoughts and the feelings, and instead of going into knowing, hi John, I started this by saying, my mom has Alzheimer's, and it's pretty severe, and she is in her dementia the sweetest lady you could ever imagine. You think of people with dementia become combative and all these things, and she just didn't and isn't, and everybody loves her. She just doesn't remember what happened 2 minutes earlier, but it's if you're it's a ridiculous analogy, but the only thing I can think of is Dory, from Finding Nemo or Finding Dory. But it's like that. She's lovely, and yet she just doesn't have any memory anymore. But it's interesting because, I talk a lot about energy and sort of being the energy you want to be in the world. And there wasn't words anymore, really, to talk with her. It was all energy. And there were tears, saying goodbye, but there wasn't really anything to say or talk about. It was, I love you, I'm grateful for you. And there was a lot of that. And she's lovely, she's like, you're so beautiful, I love you. And, she kind of just goes on a loop a little bit, but, which is fine. All lovely things she had to say. So that's lovely. But there was an energy that was very, very clear. And it was a perceiving thing. And, I've talked a little bit about kind of coming out of our heads and going into what we know and what we perceive. And this last couple of days was a lot of that. And when I got out of my head, and when I got out of what I think, what I feel, what is this? How do I, I'm sad. My mom has, this disease, and not that all that isn't sort of there, but when I came out of that, I was just able to just be the space and be in the energy. It was such a different experience. And that's, I guess, really what I want to invite you to. As I talk about all of this, and as we talk about guilt and shame and anger and all the sort of icky emotions, the things we don't like, the things we don't want to feel, you have another choice available. And I didn't know that either. And I don't think that anybody really teaches you that. We as psychologists teach people to say how they feel all the time. It's like what we do. And yet, if we could come out of all the I feel and go into what I know, what I perceive, and what I can receive, things can be so much greater. So I think that's what I'm going to leave you with tonight. It's just that you have another choice available. And when you really dive into interesting point of view for everything, and you really dive into who does this belong to, and recognize that it isn't yours. It's either been implanted and you've bought it as yours, or you're really perceiving somebody else's stuff. And you return that to sender and feel that space that allows for you. So, yeah, I'll leave you with that. Like I said, tired, long day of travel, but I adore all of you, and I really do. You are a great group of people, so I'm just so grateful for you, and I will be here next Tuesday night at 7:15. I will try harder to be here at 7:15 Central Standard Time. And if you found any of this valuable, please, hit the share button, send it to a friend, post it on your wall. I would just be so grateful. Have a wonderful night, you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.